Ethan Cole had never imagined that a single evening could change everything he thought he knew about his marriage. The apartment he shared with Lily had always been a sanctuary, or at least, that's what he had believed. Cozy corners, shared dinners, laughter echoing off the walls. It all painted the picture of a life in harmony. But last Thursday, the illusion shattered completely. He had returned early from work, intending only to surprise Lily with tickets to a small concert she had mentioned months ago. He thought a simple gesture could rekindle a spark, maybe remind her the closeness they once shared. But the moment he stepped into the living room, Ethan knew something was wrong. The air was tense, thick with an unfamiliar chill. On the coffee table lay his laptop, open, displaying a series of photos that stopped his heart in an instant. Lily walked in behind him, casually like she owned the moment. But there was something different. Her usual warmth replaced by a confident, almost defiant smirk. "What's all this?" Ethan asked, his voice steady but cold. He already knew the answer, yet hearing it aloud felt like stepping over a precipice. The photos told the story without words. Texts, snapshots from nights he had thought she was at work, hints of meetings that had never been explained, all unmistakably pointing to someone else. His stomach twisted as the reality sank in. He had loved her fully, trusted her blindly, and in return, she had built an invisible life around lies. Instead of anger, Ethan felt a peculiar clarity. This was not the time for shouting or tears. He realized the weight of silence could be more powerful than confrontation. The calm, precise delivery of his next steps would define the rest of the story. Lily, used to manipulating situations, expected a meltdown. She expected chaos. She expected her carefully constructed facade to remain unchallenged. He closed the laptop gently, stood, and looked at her directly. "I've seen everything," he said, each word deliberate, measured, cutting to the tension like a scalpel. The smirk faded slightly, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. For the first time, Lily realized that she no longer held the power she had assumed. Ethan stepped closer, maintaining the calm that belied the storm inside. He didn't raise his voice, didn't beg or plead. He didn't need to. The photos were proof, undeniable and absolute, and the silence that followed made their weight all the more potent. Her face, once confident, began to pale. The recognition of guilt, the shock of exposure, and the realization that her actions had consequences all played across her expression in a slow, painful reveal. Lily's eyes widened, and for a moment, she looked almost human. The bravado, the smugness, the false confidence, all of it was cracking under the weight of undeniable proof. Ethan didn't move quickly. He didn't need to. He let the moment stretch, letting her internal panic grow, letting her realize that the man she thought powerless was completely in control now. "You thought I wouldn't notice, didn't you?" he said softly, but there was steel in his tone. "All those nights you claimed to be at work, all those excuses about late meetings, it's all here. Every lie, every betrayal." Lily opened her mouth, tried to respond, but the words faltered. The photos and messages on the laptop were irrefutable, and she knew that. Her mind raced for excuses, justifications, anything to salvage the image she had built in Ethan's eyes. But he didn't give her that luxury. He remained calm, composed, and unshakable. Ethan had learned a long time ago that confrontation without strategy achieves little. So instead of yelling, instead of pleading, he let the truth speak. Each photo, each message was a dagger, and he let it pierce silently, deliberately, watching the effect on her. She had spent years underestimating him, thinking he would tolerate disrespect, thinking he would remain passive. She had counted on his patience, but patience, he realized, was not weakness. It was preparation. He walked to the window, letting the city lights reflect in his eyes. "You've made your choices, Lily." "And I've made mine," he said. She tried to approach, to touch his arm, to apologize, but he subtly stepped back. Space mattered. Distance mattered. Every step she had taken to control him had now been turned against her. For Ethan, it wasn't about revenge in the typical sense. He didn't want to humiliate her publicly or involve friends or family. No, the satisfaction lay in quiet, personal reclamation of his dignity and his life. The power she had wielded through deceit, the thrill she derived from believing she had him trapped. It was gone, and she could see it in the coldness settling over her own face. He didn't speak for several minutes, just watched his realization fully dawn on her. The colors drained from her features, the arrogance replaced by a pale, almost fragile expression. Ethan finally sat back on the couch, crossed his arms, and said calmly but firmly, "I hope you understand now that nothing is hidden. I know everything." Lily's lips trembled. Words failed her. For a woman who had thrived on mockery and control, silence was worse than any argument. She had built her power on ignorance, on deception, on the illusion that he wouldn't notice. And now, she faced the most subtle yet absolute consequence of all, truth exposed and control utterly removed from her hands. Lily sank to the edge of the couch, her fingers trembling as she reached toward a laptop, as if trying to erase the evidence with her touch. But the damage was done. Every lie, every betrayal, every hidden message had been brought into the light. The cool clarity in Ethan's eyes told her that there would be no negotiation, no forgiveness, no pretending this never happened. Ethan stood, walking slowly around the room, deliberately calm, deliberately visible. "You spent so long thinking you were untouchable," he said softly, each word measured. "Every lie, every secret, every attempt to humiliate me, you underestimated me. You believed patience meant weakness. It doesn't. It means understanding. Understanding your patterns, your habits, and knowing exactly how to respond when the time comes." She tried to speak, but the words faltered. The laughter she had once used to wound him seemed hollow now, almost desperate. Ethan didn't rush her, didn't raise his voice. The silence itself was a weapon. He let her squirm in it, letting her see that he was no longer a victim. He returned to the couch, picked up a photo of her laughing with someone else, someone who wasn't him, and placed it on the table in front of her. Her eyes flickered to it, and for the first time, she didn't look away. The cold realization settled over her like frost on a winter morning. She had been exposed, not by confrontation, not by threats, but by undeniable truth, and Ethan's quiet authority.